going on YouTube? Today I'm going to showcase my Stamina Nightblade, also known as Stamblade, beginner PVE build for the high LDLC patch. This build is capable of pulling over 77k on the parts dummy with a super easy beginner friendly rotation. As a part of the beginner setup series, I'll be focusing on a starting rotation gear that are all easily accessible. This build is best suited for those who are interested in starting their group content journey, meaning this is not a leveling guide and assumes you have some sort of access to at least crafted gear at CP 160. For the sake of this theme and to be as new player friendly as possible, I'll be avoiding mythics, arena weapons, trial, or dungeon gear for the initial setup. Furthermore, the rotation for many classes will be simplified. The build specializes in normal group content such as trials, dungeons, and group arenas. This build works great in overland but is not specifically designed for it. Furthermore, I'll be going over some ideas and tips to further progress yourself into mid and end game. Although hybrid builds are some of the strongest builds right now, I'll be focusing on a more traditional setup that either focuses on magic or stamina. The reason is it's easier to focus on one resource than trying to manage two. With that being said, here we go. So starting off in the character sheet, I have 64 points into stamina and I'm running the Thief Mundus. So for this particular build, I am a Dark Elf. Other alternatives include Khajiit, Wood Elf, and maybe even Orc would be fine. So for food, we're going to be running Artamo Takeaway Broth for content. Cheaper and almost just as good alternative would be Dubious Camera on Throne. And if you're parsing or need more sustain, then Lava Food Soup and Salt Rice is always the go-to. So for potions, we're just be using Standard Essence of Weapon Power. These are important for stamina DPS because they provide 3 essential buffs. These include Major Brutality, Major Savagery, and Major Endurance. Keep in mind though, these potions do cost a bit, so make sure you have 3 points in a medicinal use to also benefit from the full duration of the potions. So for CP, for the blue tree, we're going to be running Master at Arms, Deadly Aim, Wrathful Strikes, and Untamed Aggression. For the red tree, Boundless Vitality, Fortified, Rejuvenation, and Bloody Renewal. So for gear, we're going to be running 5 pieces of Hunting Rage with 5 pieces of Order's Wrath and 2-piece Night Mother. So breaking it down, we have a Dagger of Hunting's Rage and Nirnhoned with a Flame Damage enchant in our main hand, a Charged with a Poison Damage enchant on our offhand. On the back bar, we have an Infused Greatsword with an increased Weapon and Spell Damage enchant. For the head and shoulders, we're running 2 pieces of Night Mother, 1 in light, 1 in medium, both traded in Divines with max dam enchants. On the body, we have 5 pieces of Order's Wrath, all in medium, in Divines with all max dam enchants again. And for the jewelry, we have 3 pieces of Hunting's Rage jewelry, all bloodthirsty with weapon damage enchants. So for skills, we're going to be running Relentless Focus, Surprise Attack, Deadly Cloak, Killer's Blade, Rending Slashes, Incapacitating Strike, Stampede, Carve, Twisting Path, Barbed Trap, Dark Shade, and Incapacitating Strike again. So for the rotation, we're going to be basing it off of using our back bar dots and then using our front bar dots. As far as Relentless Focus is concerned, we're only going to cast that once just for the stacks. So the rotation would go something like Stampede, Carve, Twisting Path, Barbed Trap, Dark Shade, Deadly Cloak, Rending Slashes, and 6 of your spammables, which is going to be Surprise Attack. And then replace your Surprise Attack with an Incap when it's ready, and you should be good to go. So for progression, I'd usually put a mid-game section, but because Order's Wrath is so good, it won't be replaced until we hit closer to endgame. This is where you have a few options. To make this more simple, I'll be focusing on traditional stamina setup, wearing medium armor. First, I'll talk about body sets. These sets are sets that are worn on the body, thus all 5 pieces are active at all times. Furthermore, these sets should ultimately have Minor Slayer to benefit from the extra damage to bosses. Therefore, realistically, we only have 2 options. These are Reliquin from the Trial Cloud Rest and Coral Riptide from the Trial Dread Reef Sail. They're both strong, but Coral Riptide requires you to manage your stamina, and if you're able to properly manage your stamina, it seems to pull just slightly ahead in DPS. Regardless, these are both trial sets, and running it on normal is very easy, and you should work on getting them if possible. Moving on to front bar sets, or sets to either pair with Reliquin or Coral Riptide, or run separately. These can be Kinra, Pillar, Zovgan, Advancing Yokeda, or Whirl. Although from that list, I think Kinra is the best option, granted you can keep the stacks. Kinra comes from the dungeon Blackdrake Villa, Pillar of Nirn comes from the dungeon Falkreath Hold, Advancing Yokeda comes from the trial Hellraw Citadel, and Zovgan comes from the dungeon Frostvault, and Whirl Depths comes from the new trial Dread Reef Sail. I'd also like to mention that Zomkin is unique in that it allows us to run a different skill instead of Trap, freeing up a bar slot. From here, you have the Mythic and Maelstrom Arena weapon route. For the Maelstrom Arena weapon, I'd recommend Greatsword, but Bow is a good alternative as well. Mythics is kind of a pain to get, but they are some of the strongest items in the game. In the case of Mythics, I'd go for One Piece Monster Helm Slime Crawl paired with Harpooner's Waiting Kilt. Harpooner's is viable for most content, and for when it is, it's probably best in slot. A good alternative will be running Death Dealer's Fate. I'd also quickly like to mention that Oaken Soul Ring is very viable for 1-bar builds. For Monster Helms, we have a few options that you can run instead of running a Mythic. These include Stormfist, Kyonar, and Maul of Inferno. So closing thoughts, first off, if you don't like running two-hander on the back bar, you can run Bow. I'd substitute Stampede and Carve out for Poison Injection and Arrow Barrage or Endless Hail, depending on whichever one fits your needs better. Second off, in the beginning of the rotation, I just suggest you get 2 Carve stacks just to make your rotation a little bit easier. As always, thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions or comments or would like to request a build, please leave it in the comment section down below, or better yet, come join our Discord. So in terms of builds, I do make builds on request, and most of these builds are actually requested by our community members. If there's a specific build you'd like to see, I will try my best to do it in a timely manner and within the constraints of my skill. Anything from PVE to solo builds, basically anything, I'll give it my best shot. Also, there is a brand new Discord for PlayStation community members if you're interested in that. I'll leave the link down in the description below. If this video helped in any way, please consider subscribing, and if you like the piggy for this thumbnail, please like the video. And as always, there will be a parse and outfit section at the end. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.